Hello, welcome. My name is Kastro Kiran. In this video, we are going to learn about a new tool that is available in DevOps, which is known as SonarQube. By using SonarQube, we are going to perform the code quality analysis. So in this video, we are going to understand a brief overview about what is meant by SonarQube and how SonarQube is going to help us in order to perform the code quality analysis. Along with that, I'll be showing you a real-time project which focuses on how to integrate Jenkins with SonarQube or how to integrate SonarQube with Jenkins and how to perform the code quality analysis and how to access the SonarQube console where we will see the performance of the code as well. So these are the different things that I am going to focus as a part of this video. So firstly, let us understand a brief introduction towards the SonarQube. What is meant by SonarQube? Before that, we should know whether SonarQube is an open source software or not. Yes, SonarQube is an open source platform that provides the static code analysis and the code quality management. In order to do the code quality analysis or in order to perform the code quality analysis, we are going to use SonarQube in the real-time scenarios. This particular tool is mainly developed to help the developers and the development teams in order to fix the code issues in the early stages of the software development lifecycle. By using SonarQube, we can analyze the source code for the bugs, vulnerabilities, the code smells, and the code duplication. And this particular SonarQube is going to provide a detailed report on what we can do with the next stages once we identify the bugs or not. This report, we are going to send it to the developers where they are going to analyze the report and they are going to work on the creation of the bugs or the solving of the bugs, not the creation of the bugs, the solving of the bugs. So this is an overview about a SonarQube. Now let's understand what are the different things that are available in the SonarQube. On a large scale, SonarQube will perform two activities. The first one is known as code quality check, and the second one is known as code coverage. So first, let us understand what does it mean by code quality check. Suppose, let's say, any developer who is writing the code, there is a chance that code contains bugs, vulnerabilities, code smells. Then we can say that when code contains any kind of bugs or vulnerabilities, it is not a good code. Okay, it is not a good code. So what SonarQube will do? SonarQube will help us to find out the bugs, vulnerabilities, code smells, and a couple of other things where the SonarQube will generate a report. And along with that, it will also tell you which particular part of the code is consisting of the issue. That's the main important aspect of the SonarQube. So the first activity of SonarQube is to check the code quality. And in order to check the code quality, or besides checking the code quality, it is also giving us the report where we will get to know what actually the problem is. And it will also tell us which part of the code contains the issues. That's the first activity of SonarQube. The second activity of SonarQube is code coverage. Suppose, let's say, when developers are writing the code, it is not that only 10 lines or 100 lines will be there. Developers will be writing some thousands and thousands of lines of code. Now, what is code coverage? By using SonarQube, how many lines of code has been tested? That is called as code coverage. Okay, how many lines of code? If I have to keep it in this way, each code will have some test cases, or each code will have some test suits as well. While running those test cases or test suits, how much of code is covered? That's called as code coverage. If you have written 1,000 lines of code, how much of those test cases or test suits is covered by the SonarQube? That aspect is called as code coverage. So usually the code coverage, which is done by the SonarQube, should always be greater than or equals to 80%. If 80% of the code is covered by the SonarQube, then we can say the code is a good code, or the performance of the SonarQube is good. So this also we are going to see. But here, code coverage cannot be done alone by the SonarQube itself. So in order to do the code coverage, we also need a third-party tool, which is known as Jacaco plugin. The spelling is Jacoco. This is actually the tool which performs the code coverage. So what we do is we are going to integrate SonarQube with the Jenkins. Along with that, we are also going to integrate a couple of other tools with the Jenkins pipeline. This is all about a brief overview on what is meant by SonarQube and what are the two major activities that are performed by the SonarQube. Now, let me show you what are the different pipeline stages that I am going to use as a part of this particular demo. This particular project is actually a real-time project where we are going to see a similar projects when you go and work in any organization. So let me list out what are the different stages that I am going to create in this project so that you will get an idea how we are going to progress forward when we are working with the Jenkins. Usually, whenever developer writes the source code will be available in the GitHub repository. So the first activity of the Jenkins pipeline is to get the code from the GitHub repository. So that stage, I'm calling it as GitHub stage, or you can also call it as GitHub checkout. So any name can be given to the stage. That's the first stage. Once the code is available from the GitHub repository, then the second stage we are going to write is known as Maven compile. So here we are going to use Maven goals in order to do the compilation of the project. What is meant by compilation? Compilation is nothing but converting the .java file into .class file is known as compilation. Once we execute or once the pipeline executed Maven compile, then we are going to do the testing by using Maven goal. Using Maven goal, we can perform the testing, but this is a plain level testing. This is not the deep level testing, but we actually need the deep level testing also. So in order to do that, we are going to write the next stage, which is called as sonar analysis. This is the stage where it is important for this demo. Once the SonarQube has performed the analysis, then we are going to use Maven build. Building the code is nothing but creating the jar file or war file. In order to build the code, we have a Maven goal, which is known as MVN package. By using MVN package, we are going to create the jar file or the war file based upon the type of application. Once we build the code, then we are going to build the Docker image. So as a part of this demo, I'm also integrating Docker as well. So we are going to build the Docker image. And once the Docker image is built, we are going to see how to push the Docker image to the Docker Hub or the Docker registry. That's the 7th stage in our pipeline, that is pushing the Docker image to the Docker Hub. Once the Docker image is pushed, by using Docker image, I'm going to show you how to create and run the Docker container. Once the Docker container is created, it is going to run. Once after Docker container is going to run, we are going to access the application which is running inside the container. These are the 9 different stages that will be available as a part of this particular demo. So I hope you have got an idea about what exactly we are going to do in the Jenkins by integrating SonarQube. Along with that, I'll be showing you how to integrate Docker and then accessing the application that is available in the Docker Hub. So if you want, you can take a screenshot of this pipeline so that it will be working as a reference when you are watching the video. This is the GitHub repository, which I am going to use as a part of this demo. You can see I have a sample application inside the SRC main folder. It's just a simple application. We are not going to focus on the application point of view. We are going to focus on the analysis point of view. So for that, it's just a simple application which I have written by using CSS, HTML, JavaScript, and Java, where it contains the different levels of the code. Along with that, you can also see there is a Docker file which I have provided, and there is also a Jenkins file which I have provided. In the Docker file, we have the Docker commands, and in the Jenkins file, I have given the complete pipeline so that when you are working, you can actually have a look into this one, and you can also directly use this Jenkins file in order to build the pipeline. I'll be explaining about these two things in some time, but let me show you the entire documentation which I have created in order to perform this particular project. So here you can see these are the different steps that are there in this particular project, where we are going to see how to integrate SonarQube and Docker with the Jenkins pipeline. So here there are different steps that I have given. So each and every step I am going to show you how to execute these ones and how to access the SonarQube, and ultimately how to access the application that is running in a container. So the very first stage is we are going to launch one Ubuntu instance. If you want, you can also go for Linux-based instance as well. But as a part of this demo, I'm going to use the Ubuntu instance. And here, t2.micro instance will not be sufficient. So I'm going for t2.large instance with an AMI ID as 24.04, which is the latest version. And I'm going to configure the storage as 25 GB. If you want, you can also go for 30 GB also, but don't go beyond 30 GB because 30 GB is the limit for free tier capacity users. So let me go out to the AWS console and let me click on launch instance. Currently, I don't have any instances. So I'll just keep the name of the instance as SonarQube by Kastro. So I'll just give some name or any name of your convenience you can give. And AMI, as I said, I'm going to use Ubuntu instance. So select the Ubuntu operating system. And the AMI which I'm going to select is 24.04. Again, this is a free tier eligible AMI itself. So I'm not going for anything other than this. And instance type, as I said earlier, t2.micro will not be sufficient because in our case, we are going to integrate Jenkins and Docker and SonarQube together. So since three tools have to work on the same instance, we need to select some higher end instance. So I'm going for t2.large instance, which gives me 2 CPUs and 8 GB capacity. So I'm just selecting t2.large. And if you have any existing key page, you can select the existing key page. Otherwise, you can create a new key page. So currently I have one key page. So I'm going to select the existing key page, which is already available. If you don't have one, you can create by using this particular option. And in the network settings, I'm not going to touch any of the network settings. Let it be the default network settings. In the coming time, I'm going to show you what are the different ports that we need to open in order to work with this one. And with these details, I'm going to give the storage capacity as a 25 GB. If you want, you can go for 28 or 30 GB also. There is no problem. But make sure you are there less than 30 GB, because if you give more than 30 GB of storage capacity, you will be charged for that. And number of instances, I'm going to use only one instance. So let me click on launch instance. So with this, the instance we are successfully launching. Once the instance is launched, we are going to connect to the EC2 instance. And then once after connecting to the EC2 instance, then we are going to see how to work with different aspects in order to work with Jenkins, SonarQube, and Docker. So first, let us copy the public IP address of the instance so that we will connect to the EC2 instance. I am going to use the MobaXterm tool in order to connect to the EC2 instance. You can see first select the instance, copy the public IP address of the instance, and then go to the MobaXterm terminal. In the MobaXterm terminal, just click on session and then click on SSH. And in the place of remote host, paste the public IP address of the instance. For all Ubuntu-based instances, the username is Ubuntu, and then click on advanced SSH settings, select use private key, and then click on the file icon. So here I have selected the EC2, PEM file, and then click on OK, so that you will be connected to the EC2 instance. Once after you connect to the EC2 instance, anytime, whenever you connect to the EC2 instance, make sure to update the existing packages. So before that, let me switch to the root user. In order to switch to the root user, the command is sudo su. That is the command to switch to the root user. So currently, if you do who am I, you can say I'm the root user. Now, the first thing that we have to do is we have to update the existing packages. So I'm going to use the command sudo apt update. If you haven't converted to the root user, you should use sudo at the beginning. Since I have already become the root user, if you don't give also, it won't be any problem. It will still get updated. But root user permission should be available in order to convert or in order to install any kind of packages or update any kind of existing packages. Once the packages gets updated, since we are using Jenkins and Maven, in order to run these two things, we need the Java software or Java programming language. So for that, I'm going to install Java also. So to install Java, you can see this is the command to install the Java. Why I'm working with Java? Whenever we are working with Jenkins and Maven, we need Java software as a mandatory thing. So that's why I'm going to install Java 17 version. If you want, you can also go for the installation of the latest versions of Java as well. You can go with 21 version also, but I'm just going with 2017 version of Java. Once the Java gets installed, then we are going to verify whether Java is successfully installed or not. So to verify whether Java is installed or not, the command is Java space -- version. Now you can see Java 17 version is installed. Now what we have to do is we have to install Jenkins. Now in order to install Jenkins, we need to execute multiple commands. So to avoid that, what I will do is I am going to create the file, the executable shell file I'm going to create. So the file name is j.sh, or you can give any name to the file. So I'll be giving jenkins.sh as the file. Once I create the file, whatever commands that are required in order to install the Jenkins, I'm going to execute all these commands by keeping those commands in the jenkins.sh file. So let me do that. So first, let me create vi space jenkins.sh file. So why I'm creating this file? I don't want to execute each command one by one. So I'm going to create a shell file. Inside the shell file, I'm going to keep all the commands that are required in order to install the Jenkins. So just copy paste these commands inside the jenkins.sh file, press escape :WQ to come out of the file. Once you do that, if you do ls, you can see jenkins.sh file is available. But currently, this jenkins.sh file doesn't have the executable permission. So if you want to give the executable permissions to the jenkins.sh file, we are going to use a command which is known as sudo chmod +x. What does x represents? Executable permission. So sudo chmod is change mode and then +x. Why I am giving +x? Because I want to add the executable permissions. To which file I want to add? Give that file name. Jenkins.sh file, I want to give the executable permission. So click enter. Now if you do ls, you can see the jenkins.sh file is now in the executable stage. So how will you execute any shell file? / the file name, jenkins.sh. Click enter. You can see whatever commands that we have kept inside the jenkins.sh file, all those commands are getting executed. That is the use case of creating an .sh file where the commands will get executed automatically when you execute the .sh file. It's the simplest way. If you want, you can also execute all of these commands one by one also. If you don't want to create a shell file, you can also execute these commands one by one. But this is the simplest and easiest approach that we generally follow in the real-time scenarios. Right. We know that Jenkins is going to run on the default port number, which is known as 8080. So let me open port number 8080 in order to work with the Jenkins console. So go to security. In the security, you can see security groups. So click on the security groups link. And here you need to edit the inbound rules. So click on edit inbound rules and then click on add rule. The type is custom TCP and the port range is 8080. Why 8080? Because this is the default Jenkins port number. So that's why I'm opening port number 8080 and the source is anywhere IPv4. Click on save rules. Once this is done, let us verify whether Jenkins is installing or not. You can see Jenkins is still installing. Once Jenkins gets installed, then we will access the Jenkins in the browser. Once after Jenkins is installed, let us verify whether Jenkins is up and running or not. So to verify whether Jenkins is up and running, the command is sudo systemctl status Jenkins. Now, when you execute this one, you should see active and running, which applies in the green color. You can see, so currently Jenkins is up and running. So since Jenkins is up and running, we'll be able to access the Jenkins. So how will you access the Jenkins? As I have said earlier, by default, Jenkins is going to run on port number 8080. So I'm just copying the public IP address of the instance. Go to a new tab, paste it, and then colon 8080. Why 8080? That's a default port number of Jenkins. So press enter so that you'll be able to see the Jenkins sign-in dashboard which comes with couple of steps. So here, if you see, if you haven't opened the port number 8080, make sure to open the port number 8080, and then only you will be able to see this particular page. Now, in order to set up the Jenkins, we have to get the administrator password. Now, to get the administrator password, this is the path where administrator password will be available. So copy that path and then go to the mobile extension. So just press Q to come out of it. I'll just clear the screen. Now, to get the password, sudo cat and then give the path that you have got. Now, once you got this, you will be getting the password here. This is the administrator password. So copy this administrator password, go to the Jenkins dashboard, paste the password, whatever you have copied from the mobile XM terminal. Right. Once after you do this, click on continue. And then you have to install the default plugin. So select this one, that is install suggested plugins, so that the Jenkins plugins will get installed. You can see these are the different plugins that are available. So make sure to have all these plugins that gets installed by default. So don't disturb this one till everything gets installed. Now let it get installed. What we will do in the next case is we will set up the SonarQube. Now, in order to set up the SonarQube, I was telling that I'm going to set up the SonarQube by using Docker. Okay, by using Docker. So since I'm using Docker to set up the SonarQube, the first thing is we have to install Docker. So this is the command to install Docker, sudo apt install docker.io. So just go to the mobile XM terminal and then execute the command so that the Docker will get installed. Press Y to continue and then click enter. Once after this is done, then we need to give the permissions in order to run the Docker. So in order to set up the permission, I'm going to use this particular command where I'm using 666 command to execute the permissions. I mean, to give the permissions. So let me go here and then let me give the permissions to execute it. And then once after this is done, then I'm going to get the SonarQube image. Okay, the default SonarQube image that is available inside the Docker registry. So this is actually the image name, SonarQube LTS-community. This is the default SonarQube image that I'm getting it from the Docker Hub. And by default, SonarQube is going to run on port number 9000. So I'm going to do the port mapping, that is host port number and container port number. I'm giving the same one, which is 9000. Remember, 9000 is the default port number of SonarQube. And this is actually the container name which I'm giving. So this is the name of the container. SonarQube is actually the name of the container which I'm giving. If you want to change the name of the container, you can change. There is no rule that you should give only this name as the SonarQube container. Since I'm installing SonarQube or I'm running the SonarQube container, I'm just giving the name as SonarQube. So let us run the SonarQube container. Now, before running the SonarQube container, we have to execute this command. So let me do that. So I'm just going to paste that one so that the SonarQube container will get created. So since the image is not available in the local system, it is going to connect to the Docker Hub or the Docker registry. Now you can see the Docker pull process is getting completed. The SonarQube image is being pulled. Now the SonarQube image has got pulled. You can see downloaded newer image for SonarQube LTS-community. Let's verify whether we have the Docker image or not. If you do Docker images, you should see SonarQube image. Now, can you see that SonarQube image? This is what we have just downloaded. Now, if you do Docker PS, SonarQube is running on Docker container. So we should see the Docker container as well. Just do Docker PS so that you will be able to see the SonarQube container as well. Now you can see this is the SonarQube container. Okay. So what is the name of the container? SonarQube. If I do a little bit, I'll zoom out so that you'll be able to see that the Docker PS. You can see, I'll just do more. So Docker PS. You can see this is the name of the SonarQube container, which I have provided in this command. So since I have provided SonarQube here with this same name only, the SonarQube container has got created. Now, as I was mentioning, SonarQube will run on a default port number 9000. That's the default port number of SonarQube. If you do this, so since we have mapped port number 9000, we need to open port number 9000 here. So just go to the EC2 instance and then go to the inbound rules, click on edit inbound rules. And here is where we have to open the port number 9000. Why we need to open port number 9000? Because we have to access the SonarQube dashboard. So I'm giving port range as 9000, type as custom TCP, and source is anywhere IPv4. And then click on save rules. Once this is done, then copy the public IP address of the instance. Okay, copy the public IP address of the instance, and then go to the new tab, paste it, and then give SonarQube port number. What is the default port number of SonarQube? 9000. So that's the default port number of SonarQube. Once you do this, just click enter so that the SonarQube will get launched. Now, before that, let me show it. Let me see here. You can see Jenkins is still up and running, and it is the default plugins are getting installed. Once after the default plugins gets installed, this is the screen that you are going to see. So just give the credentials and required credentials so that you will be able to create the admin user. So I'm just giving the username as a Kastro, and password, you can give whatever password that you want, and then confirm the password. Just type the same password, whatever you have made, and give the name of whatever your convenience. And then I'm giving the email ID as well. So this is the default things that you can give. If you want, you can change any of these things also. So here my Jenkins username will be Kastro K, and this is the password confirmation, and full name I have given, and then email address also I have given. And then click on save and continue. Once you click on save and continue, by using this URL, we'll be able to access the Jenkins dashboard. So once you do this, just click on save and finish so that you'll be clicking on start using Jenkins. And now you are ready with the Jenkins dashboard. Now this is where you are going to install all the plugins which are required, and you need to do some configurations also. Upon doing both of them, then we are going to create the pipeline job. You can see SonarQube is getting loaded, and once after this is done, you will be able to see the login to SonarQube dashboard. Now, by default, the SonarQube login ID is admin, and the SonarQube password is also admin. So just give admin. This is the default username for SonarQube, and this is also the default password, which is admin. Admin is the username and password of SonarQube by default. So just click on login. Once you do that, you will be asked to set up the new password. So in order to do that, first you have to enter the old password. The old password is admin, and the new password, you can give whatever name that you want, or you can set the password. Once you do this, just click on update so that the new password will get updated. Now, whatever the new password that you have given, by using that only, you have to log into the SonarQube dashboard. So this is actually the SonarQube dashboard. And here you can see SonarQube is going to support Azure DevOps, Bitbucket Server, GitHub, GitLab, and a couple of others also. And if you see here, there are a couple of options on the top, like projects, issues, rules, quality profiles, quality gates, administrator, all these things are available. Now we will be working with each one of these, or most of the things which we use in the real-time scenarios. I'll be letting you know that in some time. Suppose if you want to access the SonarQube dashboard, you can see there is an option called projects. So this is where the projects will be available. Okay, this is where the projects will be available. And here you can see administrator. If you click on administration, you can see there are a couple of other options that are being shown. So we'll see these options in some time. So currently we don't have any projects, so that is why it is showing nothing here, right? So with this, we have successfully configured, or we have successfully worked with Jenkins installation, and our SonarQube dashboard is also running. Now what we have to do is we need to do some plugins and some configurations in the Jenkins dashboard. Now, in order to do that, first we'll go to the Jenkins dashboard, click on Manage Jenkins. And once you go to the Manage Jenkins, here we need to do some plugins installation. We need to configure some tools, and we also have to do some credentials configurations also. So we'll come one by one. So the same thing I have provided in the documentation also. So the step 6 is Jenkins pipeline job for SonarQube analysis. So first what we will do is we will give some plugins. We will install some plugins. So let me show you those plugins. So how will you install the plugins? Go to the Jenkins dashboard, Manage Jenkins. In the Manage Jenkins, under System Configuration, you can see Plugins option. So there is this option. So just click on the Plugins option. This is where you can install the additional plugins that you want. By default, some plugins will come. But if you want to work with any additional plugins, you have to select this option. So where this option will be available, it will be there in the Jenkins dashboard, manage Jenkins. In the manage Jenkins, you will see system configuration. In the system configuration, you will see plugins. So this is where the option will be available. So just to click on plugins here. So this is the thing that where you need to install the plugins. So first go to the available plugins. In the available plugins, I'll tell you what are the plugins that we have to install. So the first plugin that we have to install is to see the stage-wise execution of the job. We have to install this plugin called Pipeline Stage View. So select this plugin. And then since we are going to integrate SonarQube also, so we need to install one plugin called SonarQube Scanner. So select this plugin also. And we will be installing one more plugin called Eclipse Temiran Installer plugin. So you can see this one. So this particular plugin is useful when you have different Java softwares and when you want to switch from one version to another version, this particular tool will be helpful, or this particular plugin will be helpful. The same things you can see it here. First is SonarQube Scanner, and then Eclipse Temiran Installer, and then Pipeline Stage View. So these are the three plugins that we have to install. So select the required plugins, and then you can see on the top install. So just click on install so that the plugins will get installed. So let's wait till all the plugins gets installed. Once the installation is successful, then we are going to click on go back to the top page. Once this is done, then we are going to do some configurations or tool configurations in the Jenkins. So what are the different tools that we are using? One is JDK we are using, that is Java, and then we are going to configure Maven also. Okay, along with these two, we are going to work with the SonarQube as well. So since we are going to work with SonarQube, we have to configure the SonarQube tool as well, which has a name called SonarQube Scanner. So let us wait. Let us configure these tools now. Now, once this is done, you have to click on go back to the top page. You can see still it is in the executing stage. Yeah, now it is done. So just click on go back to the top page. Now what we have to do, we have to do some tool configurations. So just click on manage Jenkins, and then here you can see tools. Under system configuration, there is this option called tools. So just click on tools here. Once this is done, then here is where we need to configure the JDK, Maven, and SonarQube tools. So first let us configure JDK. So click on add JDK. Since I have installed JDK 17, I'm giving the name as JDK 17. Remember, you can use any name here. Okay, you can use any name here, but whatever name that you are giving here, that should match with the pipeline. Okay, that should match in the pipeline. So I'll show you that. But for time being, when you are practicing, just give this name only. I'll tell you what changes has to be made. If you give a different name here, you have to do some changes in the pipeline also. Okay, I'll show you that also. And then select install automatically, and then click on add installer. And you can see this option called install from adoptm.net. So click on this one. And here is where we can select the different versions of Java. You can see it here. So currently I'm going to select Java 17.0.11 plus 9. Okay, this is the current version which I'm selecting, 17.0.11 plus 9. Let me select that one, 17.0.11 plus 9. Now you can see the same one, I have given it here also for your reference, 17.0.11 plus 9, right? And then once this is done, then we are going to configure other tools as well. So let me scroll down and let us configure the SonarQube. Now here you can see SonarQube Scanner installation. Don't go for MS Build installation, that is not required for us. We are working with the SonarQube Scanner installation. So click on add SonarQube and then give the name as Sonar-Scanner. This name also you can give whatever you want, but here, since I have already created the pipeline, which I'll show it to you in some time, in the pipeline, I have configured the name of the SonarQube as Sonar-Scanner. You can see the same name I have given here also. Okay. So if you are changing the name here, make sure in the line also you have to do certain changes. Right. So I'm giving Sonar-Scanner and then SonarQube Scanner version. I'm going to select as 6.0. Let me select that 6.1.0.477, or you can also go with any other versions also. So let me see what is the version that I have given in the document. 5.0.1.3006. So you can go with any one. There is no rule that you should go with only this one. So I'm just going with this one. If you want, you can go with the latest one as well. Right. Once this is done, then finally we have to integrate Maven as well. Why we need to integrate Maven? Because if you remember in the PPT, I was telling that we have to execute some Maven goals. So for that, we need to install Maven also. I mean, we need to configure Maven also. So click on add Maven, and the name I'm giving it as a Maven. Let's say Maven 3 I'll give, because third version is currently running. So I'm just giving the Maven 3. Here also, whatever name you want, you can give. But if you are giving a different name here, you have to change it in the pipeline. Okay. So right. Once this is done, just click on apply, save. That's it. So these tools are configured now. Once the configuration of tools is completed, then we have to set up the SonarQube. Okay, then we have to integrate the SonarQube. Along with the integration of SonarQube, we also have to integrate a Docker Hub as well. Right. So first, let us see how to configure the SonarQube server. For that, just go to the SonarQube console. In the administration tab, the option will be there where we will generate the SonarQube tag token. So just click on administration here. And here you can see under security, there is this option called usage, groups, global permissions, and a couple of others. And here also you can see there are a couple of options. So let me show you the same thing in documentation. So click on security and then go to usage. So let me show you that. Yeah, click on security and here you can see usage. So click on usage. And here what we have to do is we have to generate one token. So in order to generate the token, you can see this option tokens here. So there are bars over there, right? So just click on those bars and give the token name. Any name you can give. So here I'm just giving the token and expires in. So in how many days you want to use the token? So that you can give 30, 90, 1 year and no expiration also. If it is a long-term based project, we'll give it as no expiration. Since it's a practice case scenario, I'm just giving it as 30 days and then click on generate. Once you generate, you can see SonarQube token. So remember this token we have to configure in the Jenkins. So click on copy so that SonarQube token will get configured. Now go back to the Jenkins dashboard. Now where we are going to configure the SonarQube credentials. Here you can see under security, there is this option called credentials. Okay, there is this option called credentials. The same thing I have given in the documentation also. So manage Jenkins security credentials. So let me do that as well. So click on credentials and here click on global. We have to add the credentials. So currently we don't have any credentials. Okay, this is the default Jenkins credential. So click on global here. And now since we need to add the credentials, you can see this option called add credentials. So click on add credentials and kind. You should not select username with password. You can select a secret text because my password nobody should be able to see. So that's why I'm using secret text. And here secret is the token, whatever you have copied from the SonarQube dashboard. This is the token, right? Copy this token and paste it here. Okay, and paste it here. Once this is done, then we have to provide the ID and description. Okay, we have to provide ID and description. So what is the ID? You can give anything, but in my case, in the Jenkins pipeline, I have given the ID in a different way. So the ID is, you can see sonar-token. So if you are changing this one, the same thing, you should also change it in the Jenkins pipeline as well. I'll show you that in some time. Just remember all of these things, what I'm configuring, so that I'll be explaining you these ones once I show you the Jenkins pipeline. So give ID and description as sonar token. Make sure ID should be the same thing because this is the same thing I have configured in the Jenkins pipeline script. Right. Once this is done, just click on create. So this is how you can configure the SonarQube credentials. Once the SonarQube credentials is done, then you have to configure the Docker Hub credentials also. Okay, Docker Hub credentials also. So how will you configure the Docker Hub? Firstly, why do we need to configure the Docker Hub credentials? The reason is we want to push the Docker image to the Docker Hub. Once the Docker image is created, we want to push the Docker image. So to do that, we have to configure the Docker Hub credentials. Our Docker Hub will be there, right? I guess you also have your own Docker Hub. So make sure you have the Docker Hub account. Only then you will be able to push to the Docker registry or Docker Hub. So I'll show my Docker Hub registry. So this is actually my Docker Hub. If you haven't logged in, make sure you have logged into your Docker Hub registry. So this is my Docker Hub registry. So this is these are the images which I currently have. I'll do one thing. I'll delete these images so that you'll be able to see the image which I'll be pushing once the pipeline gets successful. Let me do that. To delete the image, go to the settings, and then here you can see there is this option called Docker repository, and then give the confirmation name. So I'll just give the name as a Spotify app. I'll just delete that one. That's it. And you can see this is my first Docker image. If you want to delete that also, you can just go to the settings, and then in the settings, if you scroll down, there is this option called delete repository. So just give the name once again, and then delete the repository. So currently in my Docker Hub, I don't have any images. Okay, I don't have any images. These images, I have deleted it. Okay, these images, I have deleted it. So let me reload the page. Now, what we will do is we have to configure the Docker Hub credentials. Now, in order to configure the Docker Hub credentials, you need to have the Docker Hub username. So to get the Docker Hub username, you can see the icon there, profile icon. So click on it. And this is your Docker Hub username. So copy the Docker Hub username. Okay, I'm just copying the Docker Hub username. Now let us configure the credentials in the Jenkins. So how will you do that? Again, the same process. So here you can see add credentials and then username with password, because my Docker Hub is having an username and password. So select kind as username with password. Scope is global and username is whatever username that you have copied from the Docker Hub, that username. And here the password you have to give your Docker Hub password. So I'm just giving my Docker Hub password. And ID, I have configured it as a Docker Hub -credentials. This is the ID which I have configured in the Jenkins pipeline. So I'm going to give the same ID. You also can give the same ID. Okay, if you change these IDs, you have to change it in the pipeline script. Right. Once this is done, just click on create. That's it. You can see SonarQube credentials are created and Docker Hub credentials are also created. So with this, credentials configuration, tools configuration is done. Now what we have to do is we have to tell to Jenkins that on a particular port number, SonarQube is running. Okay, we have to tell to Jenkins on a particular port number and on a particular IP address, SonarQube is running. Now, in order to tell that, we need to do one configuration that is called as a system level configuration. Now, where will you do the system level configuration? Just go to the Manage Jenkins. In the Manage Jenkins, you can see this option called system. Okay, you can see this option called system configuration. In the system configuration, you will see this option called system. So just click on system here. Okay, click on system here. Now here, we need to provide the URL of the SonarQube. Okay, we need to provide the URL of the SonarQube. So let me copy the URL of the SonarQube first. So here you can see in the search bar, there is an URL. So just copy the entire URL up to 9000 slash. Okay, and up to 9000 slash. So I have just copied the URL here and then go to the Jenkins dashboard. And if you scroll down, you will be able to see SonarQube. Yeah. So here you can see SonarQube servers. Okay, SonarQube servers. Now click on add SonarQube and then give the name. So here you can give any name. So I'll be giving the name as sonar-server. Okay, I'll be giving the name as sonar-server because this is how I have configured in the pipeline. Sonar-server and server URL. So where SonarQube is running in this URL. Make sure you should not give the slash at the end. Remove that slash. If you can see the syntax is also provided here. Localhost is nothing but the public IP of the default port number of SonarQube. And then server authentication token. If you click on this dropdown, we have configured the Sonar token, right? So select that server authentication token, which is a Sonar token. I have given that step also here. Server authentication token, select Sonar token. Once that is done, just click on apply and save it. So this is how you can tell to Jenkins that you need to configure or you need to connect to the Sonar. How it is going to connect? By providing the SonarQube URL. That is what we have done. Now what we have to do is we have to create the job. As of now, whatever we have created, all these steps are related to the configuration. Okay, first installation of JDK and then installation of Jenkins and then accessing the Jenkins and then creating the SonarQube container and then accessing the SonarQube container. And then we have seen how to do the tool configuration, how to install the plugins, and how to do the system level configurations of SonarQube, right? So now what we have to do is we have to create the Jenkins pipeline job. So let me click on new item here and then give the project name. So I'll give it as a SonarQube -Kastro. So I'll just give the project name, any name you can give here. And since we are going to work with the pipeline, so click on pipeline. Freestyle project also we can work, but in real-time scenarios, mostly we use pipeline. So click on pipeline and then click on OK. Now what we have to do is we have to go to the pipeline here. In the left pane, you can see pipeline. Now, this is where we are going to write the pipeline. So I'll show you the pipeline, which I have already created in the Jenkins, in the GitHub repository. Let me show you that. So here you can see, this is my Jenkins file. So this is where you can find the pipeline script. So this is the entire pipeline script. So let me explain you this pipeline script in a nutshell so that you'll be able to understand. So here, any Jenkins pipeline will start with the pipeline and agent any. So here I have configured tools. What are the tools I have configured? Maven, JDK, and SonarQube. So tools I have configured. So Maven, I have given the Maven name as Maven 3. If you have given or if you have configured with a different name, you should give that name here. Remember that. Similarly, for JDK also, I have given the name as JDK 17. If you have configured with a different name, you should give that name only. Make sure of it. And then the SonarQube name also, I have given it as a sonar-scanner. Okay, sonar-scanner. So make sure if you have given the same names, you can follow directly. I mean, you can use this script directly. Otherwise, you have to do these 3 changes primarily. And then currently, I have configured my Docker Hub username. So my Docker Hub username is Kastro V. So if you have configured a different Docker Hub username, I mean, your own Docker Hub username, you should give your own Docker Hub username. Remember that. So don't change it. Whatever Docker Hub username you have, that name only you have to change. Otherwise, you should keep it, leave it blank. But if you leave it blank, what will happen? The image will not be pushed to the Docker Hub. So make sure whatever name you are giving, you should have that Docker Hub registry or Docker Hub account, right? And here I'm going to tell the Docker Hub username. Okay, it is going to get the Docker Hub username. And this is the name, Spotify-app. You can give any name, but let it be as it is. No issues with that. And then stages I'm writing. As I said in the PPT, there are different stages that I'm going to write. First one is Git checkout. In the Git checkout, I'm going to configure the GitHub URL where my SonarQube project code is available. Okay, SonarQube project code is available. So this is the same repository where my project code is available. And then once the code is available with the Jenkins, then it has to compile. So in order to compile, it is going to execute a MVN compile goal. Once it compiles, then it is going to test the code by using MVN test. And then it is going to perform the SonarQube analysis. Now here, whatever name you have configured here as a sonar_home, the same name you should give here also. Remember this. The same name you should give here also. If you have given a different name, then it won't work. Remember that. And then project name. Project name can be anything. So here I have given my name. If you want, you can give your name also. And the project key can also be anything. If you want, you can give your own name as well. There is no problem. If you change these ones, then you don't have to do any extra configuration. But the configuration that you have to remember is this one. Okay. And then once SonarQube analysis is done, then it is going to build the project. Now, in order to build the project, we are going to use a MVN package goal where the jar or war file will get created. And then the Docker image will get built. Now, in order to build the Docker image, we will use this command, docker build -t and Docker image. From where this Docker image is going to come, the name will come from here. So I have configured that as an environment variable. So I have given that as an environment variable. Okay. So this is the Docker Hub name. I mean, Docker Hub, Docker image name, not Docker Hub, Docker image name. Right. Once that is done, and then you can see it is going to push the image to the Docker Hub. So in order to push the image to the Docker Hub, it is going to get the Docker Hub credentials. So I have configured the Docker Hub credentials with this name only, Docker Hub -credentials. If you have configured in Jenkins with a different name, you have to give that name here. Make sure of it. The rest of the things you don't have to change. I have given it as an environment variables. Directly, the Docker Hub will take. I mean, directly the Jenkins pipeline will access the Docker username and also the password, and it will create the image, and then it is going to push the image. Okay, first it is going to connect to the Docker Hub by using this username, and then it is going to get the Docker image, and then it is going to log into the Docker Hub by using username and the password, and then it is going to push the image to the Docker Hub. Once this is done, then it is going to run the Docker container. Okay, it is going to create the Docker container. So this will be the container details. So container is going to run on a 555 port number. Okay, 555 port number. This is host port number and container port number. And this is the container port name. I mean, not container port name, it's a container name. Okay, Spotify-app is the container name. If you want, you can give a different name also. There is no problem. But the question is why I'm configuring with 555. So here, I mean, 4 files. You can give any port number. Okay, you can give any port number. But the reason why I have configured this particular port number is in my Docker file. If you see here, I have the Docker file. In the Docker file, I have exposed port number 555. You can see it here. I have exposed port number 555. So that is the reason, whatever port number you have given here, make sure you are going to give the same port number in the Jenkins file also. If you give a different port number, then it won't run. Make sure of it. So that is the reason why I have given the port number as a 4 files. Okay. So this is the container name. Okay. This is the container name. Remember, we have to verify that whether container gets created or not. Once everything is done, I have added one post build action stage also, which is going to clean up the workspace. So this is not so important. I have just added it for your convenience. That's it. Right. So this is the entire pipeline script. I hope you got an idea about what are the stages I have given in the pipeline script and what changes you have to do if you have configured with different names like Maven, SonarQube, Docker Hub credentials, JDK, and all those things. Right. So let me copy the entire syntax, I mean, entire pipeline, and then go to the Jenkins pipeline. And then here I'm going to paste it. But after pasting, we have to do some changes here. One change that you have to do is you have to provide the URL. Okay, you have to provide the GitHub URL. Now to generate this one, I'm going to use the pipeline syntax. So you can see pipeline syntax. So if I give directly this one, it won't work because this one I have to generate by using pipeline syntax. So I'm just going to open the pipeline syntax, and then here is where we have to generate. So click on sample step, select Git, because that is where my pipeline, my code is available. So let me copy this one, GitHub repository URL. So if you are working with the same repository, you can fork this repository. Okay, you can see there is this option called fork. So I'll give the repository URL in the description of this video. So just click on this one so that you can fork it. Once after you fork it, you can do the things, whatever I'm doing. Right. And then copy the repository URL. So just copy the repository URL and then go to the pipeline syntax and paste the repository URL. Once you have pasted the repository URL, we have to give the branch. In which branch the code is available? You can see the code is available in main branch. Currently, I have only one branch, that is main branch. So just give that branch name also as a main. Since this particular repository is a public repository, you don't have to configure the GitHub credentials. You can see this is a public repository. You don't have to configure any credentials. But if it is a private repository, you have to configure the GitHub credentials. So I'll keep this repository as public only so that you don't have to configure the credentials. Once this is done, just click on generate pipeline script. Now, this one you have to copy. Okay, whatever script that you are generating. So this entire script you have to copy and then go to the Jenkins pipeline. And here you have to paste it. In the first stage, you have to paste it. Okay, in the first stage, yeah. So remove this entire one and then paste the one, whatever you have generated by using pipeline syntax. And you can see the rest of the stages will remain same. You don't have to change any of these stages. Okay, since I have already explained what changes you can do those changes before you execute this one. So just click on apply and save. Once you click on apply and save, the job is created. You can see this is the job name. Now, let me show you in the, let me go to the SonarQube. Now, in the SonarQube, if I click on projects, currently I don't have any projects. Okay, currently I don't have any projects. Once the pipeline is executed successfully, okay, once the pipeline is executed successfully, then in the SonarQube under projects, we will see that project, whatever project we have created. And also in the Docker Hub, I should see the image as well, Docker Hub image also. So currently, do I have any images? You can see there are no repositories in this namespace. So what we have to see, we will be getting the Docker Hub image in the Docker Hub and project in the SonarQube. Along with that, we should also access the application as well. So let us build the job first. So here currently you can see there are no builds. The build history is nil now. So let me click on build now. Since this is my first time, so it is going to execute the job for the first time. Now you can see the job has got executed. I mean, it is started executing. Now you can also see the stage-wise execution also. So can you see the stage-wise execution? So like this, whatever stages that we have given, all those stages will get executed one by one. So I'll pause this video and I will show you directly the entire pipeline stages. So you don't have to do anything. Please wait for some time so that the all stages will get executed. So you can see declarative tool, that stage got executed, and then git checkout got executed. Compilation is also successful. And then it is going to execute a Maven test goal, that is MVN test, that is also success. You can see that. Now it is going to do the SonarQube analysis. Okay, it is performing the SonarQube analysis. So this particular stage will take some time. It may take some 35 to 60 seconds of time based upon the code that we have. So currently we have to wait. The SonarQube analysis is done. You can see that. Now the building is also happening, project building. So what do you mean by project building? It is going to create the jar file for our application. So build is also successful. Then it is going to create the Docker image. That is what Docker build stage is. Okay, Docker image is getting built. Once the Docker image is built, then it is going to push the image to the Docker Hub. You can see it is going to push the image to the Docker Hub. Once it pushes the image to the Docker Hub, then a Docker container will get created and the application will get deployed into the Docker container. So you can see it here. It is running, it has run the Docker container. That means Docker container also got created. Now you can see the post-build actions are also completed. So the entire pipeline is successful now. So you can see the pipeline status is a success. Here you can see in the left side bottom. Okay, so entire pipeline is success. Now what we have to do, let us go to the SonarQube console first. So I'm just going to the SonarQube console. Now just to reload the page. So under projects, currently, do I have any projects? No, but the Jenkins pipeline is successful. You can see Jenkins pipeline is successful. Now just to go to the SonarQube and then reload it. Okay, and then reload it so that you'll be able to see the project, whatever we have created. So click on projects. And now here you can see this is the project, Kastro. With this name, the project gets created. Okay. Now currently code coverage is 0%. I was telling if code coverage is greater than or equals to 80%, then we can consider the analysis is perfect. And it has done the duplications also. There is 22.5% duplications are there. And the number of lines of code, you can see 252 lines of code. And the rating related to the bugs, vulnerabilities, hotspot reviewed, everything is given is also here. So this is how you can get the SonarQube code quality analysis. So since my code, the code whichever is available in the GitHub repository, it's a simple code. So that is why there is no much code coverage and there are no bugs available. But in the real-time scenarios, you'll be getting the bugs, vulnerabilities, hotspots, code smells, coverage, duplications, number of lines. It will show everything. If you want to see the more details, you can see click on the project. So click on Kastro, that is the project name. And you can see there are no bugs available, 0 bugs and 0 vulnerabilities. Some 5 security hotspots were there. But again, 0% was reviewed here. And you can see how many lines of code coverage and how many lines of duplication. So this is how you will be getting the details of it. If you want to know more details, you can see the code quality. It is passed. Code quality analysis is passed. So that means successfully it has tested. And there are no bugs available in the code. No bugs and no vulnerability. If you want to know more details, you can click on issues. You will get to know only issues. Security hotspots, it will show you where actually the security hotspots were there. You can see JDK and workdir, this one's security hotspots it is showing. Measures, you can see what kind of measures you can take. So this is the entire dashboard that you can look after. And then you can see the different options here. You can explore it when you are practicing and click on code. There were no code files found for analysis. And here you can see the whatever that is there in my GitHub repository. Okay, that entire thing has came here. You can see that. Okay, so it has performed the entire thing. So you can see in this particular directory, how many lines of code is there, how many bugs are there, vulnerabilities and hotspots and duplications. Like this, each and everything, whatever is there in the GitHub repository, every detail you are going to get. Okay, and then if you click on activity, it will show what kind of activity you need to get. So if you click on issues related graphs, you'll get that. If I want duplications related graph, I'll get that. But currently, there is no much data that is to generate. So since it's a simple application, right? Now, let us verify whether Docker image has got pushed to the Docker Hub. So currently, you are not seeing anything. Just reload the page. Once you reload the page, you should be able to see the Docker Hub image, image which got pushed. You can see this is the image name, Spotify-app. You can see 4 minutes ago, it got pushed to the Docker Hub. Now we will verify whether the Docker container got created or not. So in order to verify, first let me switch to the root user, sudo su. Click enter. Now Docker images, you can see Kastro v Spotify-app. This is the image which got created. How it got created? By using the Jenkins pipeline. You can see 4 minutes ago, it got created. Now we should also see the container. So Docker PS. You can see Spotify-app container is there. Earlier, we used to have only SonarQube container. Now we have one more container called Spotify-app. Now, in order to access the application, in which port number the application is running? Port number 545. Okay, 5555. That is where my application is run. So in order to access the application, go to the AWS console and then in the security groups, okay, in the security groups, go to security and then click on security group link. So let me click on that. Yeah, click on that. And once you click on that, you have to edit the inbound roles. So open port number 45. Okay, I'm just opening the port number 45 because that is where my application is run. So click on save rules. Now I have clicked on save rules and it is done. Now what we will do is we will access the application. So how will you access the application? So just copy the public IP address of the instance. Just copy it, go to a new tab. In the new tab, paste it, colon, where application is running? In the port number 45. Okay, click on that. Once you click on that, you should be able to see the application. As I said earlier, it's just a simple application. Nothing much I have done there. Okay, so this is the application. Welcome to Kastro's app and congratulations for learning SonarQube. If you want to access the Docker related playlist, you can click on here so that the Docker playlist will get opened. So where the entire Docker playlist was added. And if you want to see the Nexus related video also, you can click on this one so that Nexus related video will also be able to, if you haven't learned the Nexus and Docker completely, you can also access it from here. However, I will also provide the Docker and Nexus playlist in the description of this video. Along with that, I'll also provide the same Docker and Nexus playlist in the GitHub repository also, which I'll be sharing it with you. So this is how you can work with the integration of SonarQube, Docker with Jenkins. Okay, so I hope this is clear for all of you. Since it's a lengthy video and we are talking about the real-time projects, it has taken too much of time. So anyway, but when you are practicing, you try to practice it carefully so that you don't have any kind of problems. If you face any kind of problems, you can use the comment box you can use the comment box to comment your problem so that I'll be responding it in the comment box. Or you can also join the WhatsApp group. The WhatsApp group link also I'll be providing in this particular repository only. So you can join the WhatsApp group and there also you can connect with me. And you can also connect with me on LinkedIn as well. And once this is done, if you have learned this entire thing completely, feel free to post it on LinkedIn and any other platforms so that the other people will also be able to know how to do this kind of real-time projects. So in this video, we have seen the in-detailed concept of working with SonarQube and how to perform the code quality analysis. Along with that, I have also shown you how to how to create the Docker image and how to push that image to the Docker Hub and how to run the container and to access the application that is running in the container. This is completely a real-time project. So if you practice this particular video, you can say, you can keep in your resumes that you are good at SonarQube and you have the hands-on experience with SonarQube. In the next week, we are going to meet with another project that is related to the DevOps. Thank you.